All right, so here we are, week 3, live session 2, and what I want to do tonight is I just want to go over some technical stuff for you in the hopes that I can clarify a few things for you and maybe make your job a little easier. So the first thing that I wanted to do is I'm showing you this graphic that I did. It's part of an assignment that I had to do, and it has to do with romantic art, which falls in around the 1800s and to the turn of the century. And what I chose to do with this piece was to do a funeral notice for Wild Bill Hickok. And I was trying to make this look sort of like a letterpress job, a job that would have been done on a letterpress, printing press. And, you know, it involves using type and type treatment. All this was done, almost all of this was done in Adobe Illustrator. Obviously, I got a picture of Calamity Jane, and I traced her. Got a picture of Wild Bill, and I auto-traced him. And then I got the ace and the eights, which was the dead man hand, the hand that he had when he was shot. And this was a gun very similar to the type of gun that Wild Bill Hickok had. So the whole thing is to put together this fake funeral notice for the city of Deadwood and make it look very much like what would happen back then in the day. Okay, now the reason I'm showing you this is because, let me get out of here. There are a couple of things that I want to talk to you about when it comes to preparing your art. When you prepare your art for a revolve or an extrusion, it's very important that you have certain things in mind. Like, for instance, type. When you're working with type, if you submit things to me that are not outlined type, if I open it up as a PDF will keep the appropriate look of the type. So I'm using a font here. The font is called Rockwell Condensed. All right. So I have Rockwell Condensed on my computer. If I were to send this to you, it's possible you might not have Rockwell Condensed on your computer. Now, if you were to try to open this Adobe Illustrator file on your computer, and if you didn't have Rockwell Condensed, what would happen is you would get an error message telling you that there was a missing font, and it would substitute the font with some other font. This is a very common occurrence for me when I am grading work. As long as I open the submitted file in Adobe Acrobat, everything's just fine. But if I decide that I would like to open it up in Illustrator for some reason, maybe to demonstrate something in class or to verify something, what will happen is the font, if it is not a font on my machine, will substitute and it will whack out and it will no longer look like how it really should look. Now, it's not the end of the world because I have the PDF and I can look at the PDF and I can pretty much go in and just kind of figure out what it is I'm trying to do. But it's a little bit annoying. And what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to give you a little bit of perspective on things, because at some point or other, this might be a whole lot more important to you than it is right now. So if you take a look at this, right, first of all, I want to go, notice that I have my bounding box on, and I really don't like bounding boxes at all. So if I go to the view menu, I can go down to the bounding box. It'll say hide bounding box because the bounding box is engaged. And now the bounding box is gone. Now, if I need the bounding box, I can just come over here and click on the free transform tool, and it brings the bounding box back. But normally, I don't like to have the bounding box on. So it's just something that I wanted you to know. That's the first thing. The second thing is this is the type which I will call, or the condition of type, where I will call this active type. Meaning, essentially, if you look at this, there's one little anchor point. This is center aligned type, okay? On center aligned type, you have at the center point of your type, the anchor point. That's the anchor point that's associated with the line that's holding that type. If you look at the baseline of all the type, you have a line that runs right across the bottom of the type. Hello, Brianne. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm going to stop for a minute and deviate. How's your work going? You okay?
Oh, yes, I'm fine.
Yeah. You don't need help with anything?
Not that I know of.
Okay. You going to be able to get something to me so I can give you some critiquing on it?
I hope so.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you have time, stop into Blackboard tonight and show me what you're doing, and maybe I can give you the critique right there.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
I just want to be able to give you the critique so that, you'll be able to do some refining, and I can get your credit for that.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, everything else is okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
So what I'm talking about, before I actually get into some stuff, there's a few little minor details. I'm talking about creating outlines for type and why you would want to do that. Basically, the reason you would want to create outlines for type is for my benefit. What I generally do is when I have a project that I work on, I will create the project, get all the type looking the way I want it to look, and then when I'm ready to submit it, what I would do is I would make a duplicate of the piece of work, okay? And I would take the type and I would create outlines on that duplicate, because I can always throw the duplicate away. I have the original. Does that make sense to you, what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. So you have the original. The original has the live text, and you leave that alone so that you can go back in and make changes if changes are requested. And I don't mean changes in color and size, because outline text, you can change the size of it. You can change the color of it. You can put effects on it. What I'm talking about is if somebody that you're working with, one of your bosses or one of your the people that, the stockholders, the stakeholders that you're working with decides that they don't like that particular font, and then it gets agreed upon that they don't like the font, you have to go back in and you have to recreate it. It's easier to do that if you keep the text intact. The reason that I would create outlines, and this pretty much is kind of important in this school situation, I'll tell you why. You can send me, like right now, I got type create outlines and I got this gun here, and I'm going to be talking about them in a minute. If you were going to submit this to me, you'd submit it to me as Adobe PDF. And if you submit it to me as an Adobe PDF, because of what Adobe PDF can do, it will keep that font perfect. So when I open up the PDF in Acrobat, because of the nature of Adobe PDF, having the ability to maintain the original type that's being used, I will see your original type. You know that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but if I go into Adobe Illustrator, if I take that PDF, and this is the interesting thing about PDF can be brought into Adobe Illustrator, and it can be turned back into a live Photoshop or Illustrator document that you can actually edit, just like a regular old Illustrator document. Did you know that?
Right, like what you did on Monday.
Yep. And if you remember correctly, I pointed out that if I don't have a particular font on my machine, I'll get a substitute. Now, it's not the end of the world because, and I said this just a few minutes ago, it's not the end of the world because really I have the PDF and I can verify things in the PDF, but it's a little bit frustrating because when I go to open it up, when all the fonts change, then they stick out all over the place and they get in the way of things. And it's also just annoying to get the error messages and all that. So the reason I'm going through this big rigmarole is to just let you guys know that what you should be doing is, and again, go back to what I have here. Let's pretend for a second that this is actually a piece of art. And I'm going to ultimately submit this piece of art for approval. for me, what I would do is I'd keep it intact. Then what I would do is I'd create a separate file, renaming it, whatever the name of the font is, and maybe just go outlines, because that's what I'm going to do. And then I would create outlines for my text. Then when I submit it to me, I can open it up in PDF and it'll look fine. But if I decide that maybe for some reason I would like to go into Illustrator and do some additional checking, because you've created outlines on your text, it's no longer active text. It does not require linkage to the font on my computer. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just graphic shapes. And I'm going to show you that in a minute, because I'll go in and I'll create outlines. Once that's done, since they're just graphic shapes, I'll have no trouble opening up the file in Illustrator and the type will look perfect. Okay?
Okay.
So that's essentially what I'm saying to do. And this is something that will occur from time to time with other classes where you'll submit things in a program like Illustrator, and your instructor might want to open it up in Illustrator and to make sure that you don't lose the font, because again, I have a different computer than you, and I'm absolutely certain, without a shadow of a doubt, that I have type on my computer that you don't have on yours, and you have type on your computer that I don't have on mine. So there's where we run into a problem. So this type, you'll see I've got it selected here, right? You can see a blue line on it. And you understand what that blue line is actually telling you. Do you understand what that's telling you, Brianne? That blue line, what the purpose of it is?
That one is to tell me it's text, right?
Exactly. In other words, if I were to create a rectangle or a square, here's a little rectangle, okay? Notice that the path runs all the way around that shape, and there are anchor points in all four corners. And there's an anchor point, in fact, in the center. And what that does is that defines the space that is taken up by that shape, which is a square, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, even though type carré, or whatever that is, a bracket, create outlines, even though that is type, I mean, a graphic shapes, it's a special kind of graphic shape. It is taken a step up from being just regular shapes. And the reason it's done is so that we can go in and we can change the font. Like, for instance, if I wanted to, I can come in here right now and I can select this, and I can come in here and I can change that to playbill. Okay? And I got a different type. Okay?
Right.
Okay, I'm going to go edit undo and bring it back. And see, you can bring it back as well. So that's the nature of normal type. But like I said, if you submit this to me and it's active type and I don't have the type on my computer, I get an error message and a substitution, which is something that I don't particularly like. So what I'm saying is, the long and short of this, is that you select this guy. This is after you make a duplicate, because you want to keep your original intact. That's because if I give you instructions to do this, this, and that, and it involves a type, you want to be able to go back in and just go right in and work on that type. You don't want to have to reset the type. And once you create outlines on this and save the file, close it, it's done. You can't go back in and undo create outlines, right? You know that.
Correct.
Yeah. So in other words, whatever operations you do in Illustrator at any particular time, once you save it, once you close the file, once you open it up, that's it. Whatever you did is going to stick from that point forward. So that's why when you're working with something like this, it might be a good idea for you to consider saving it as a duplicate. Then this way, you can either keep it or throw it away and go back to the other and do whatever you're going to do. All right. So anyway, no, this thing's back on. How did this go back on? I didn't put that back on. Type create outlines. And there's my line. Go to the type menu. Oh, before I do that, symbols. What we're going to be working with are symbols. Okay, this we can get rid of. We're going to be working with symbols. And I'm going to be demonstrating how to work with symbols. And I wanted to explain a few things about symbols. Because have you worked with symbols yet at all, Brianne?
I've dabbled.
Okay. Do you feel that you know a bit about it or not really?
A little bit.
Little bit. Okay. Well, a couple of things that you should know. First of all, I can take that type just the way that type is, and I can click on that type, and I can drag it into my symbols panel, let it go, and then what I can do is I can name my new symbol type, and it's just an example, okay? And I can export it as not a movie clip, but as a graphic, okay? And I can hit OK, and now that is a symbol. You see in the little center there's a little crosshair?
Uh-huh.
That means it's a symbol. You see that right there? That's a symbol, okay? So I can make a symbol out of live text. I did not create outlines on that text. But here's the problem, and here's what I want you to understand, guys. And who else came in? Somebody came in. Tamara did. Hi, Tamara. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How's your work coming? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. You know, did you get my? Did either one of you guys get my email today about help and about Blackboard tonight?
Yep, I'll be there.
Okay. Okay. Good. So anyway, what I'm about to do is we're talking about symbols, and I'm talking about type, and I'm going to be talking about this graphic, this picture of the gun there, okay? Because there's something I need you to understand. Because you might be importing graphics into your 3D. Are you guys, Brienne and Tamara, are you thinking of actually doing a 3D extrude for your box and a 3D revolve for your bottle? Are you actually thinking of doing that?
Yeah, actually I am.
Okay. Well, there are some things that I need to explain to you so that you don't run into trouble. And that's kind of what tonight's all about, is me trying to explain a little bit of this. First thing that I wanted to do, okay, so you understand, I can actually take that live text and I can make that into a symbol. So live text can be part of a symbol. But keep in mind one very important thing. Whether live text is part of a symbol or not, live text is live text. And when it comes to me as a PDF, I've got no problem with it. When it comes to me as an Adobe Illustrator file, if I don't have the font on my computer, I'll get an error message. So keep that in mind, not only for me, but for any other instructor that you're working with Illustrator. Because at times you're going to submit stuff to them, and try to remember that they may not have the copy on their computer, the font on their computer. And if they don't, they're going to get an error message, and the actual layout will break because it will substitute the font. Okay? You guys understand that clearly?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to undo this because I don't really want this. I'm going to edit, undo.
What would be the purpose of making the font a symbol?
Because it might be part of your layout that you're creating for your box or the label. Right now, I'm just demonstrating. I'm just talking broadly about type, and I'm going to talk about tracing in a minute. The reason I'm doing this is because you guys are going to make labels and you're going to make box covers, and you might be utilizing images that you get from the web. See this gun here? That's an image that I got from the web. I might want to use that in my box. Now, I'm not, but I might. And so in a minute, I'm going to explain about using that in a symbol and what the limitations are. Right now, I'm talking about type and using type in a symbol. And I'm trying to point out to you that you can use live type in a symbol. It's not a problem. The problem is when it comes to me, if I decide that I want to open it up in Illustrator and not in Acrobat, if I don't have that font on my machine, the font will substitute. I'll get an error message and it'll substitute. Okay?
I understand that. I'm asking what the benefit of using it as a symbol would be.
You need to put symbols on your 3D revolve and your 3D extrude. That's the only way that you can put graphics on a 3D revolve or a 3D extrude. They have to be turned into a symbol. And there are certain things, there are certain limits that you face when you create symbols. And that's sort of where I'm starting out, is just explaining some of those limitations so that you'll know, hopefully, and avoid them. Does that help?
Yeah, so all of any text that we're going to have on our box is going to have to be turned into a symbol as well.
Yeah. Unless if you're going to use the revolve or the extrude process to apply it to the box, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I didn't.
And I'm going to demonstrate some more of that tonight. That's part of what I'm going to demonstrate tonight. And I'm assuming you'd like to know how to do this, and you'd like to know how to do it the right way.
Yeah, I just didn't know that they had to be symbols to do that. That's why I was.
That's what we say. That's why I'm going over this, because I kind of figured that there would be somebody who didn't realize this, and it's kind of, I needed to just make sure that you have a little bit more information about this when you go and try to do it, so it doesn't turn into a nightmare for you and you end up trying to find somebody to help you or call me out of desperation. I'm just trying to give you some of the legal parameters of this whole thing, okay?
Okay.
All right, so you're clear on this? Type can be, you can use type. I can drag that type just the way it is. It will turn into a symbol. That's not the problem. The problem is if you send it to me and I choose to open this up on my computer, if it's not a font that I have on my computer, I will get an error message and a substitution. So all I'm saying to you is to avoid that problem, not just for me, but for the future. Any person, any of your instructors that you're working with in Adobe Illustrator, you will want to make sure that you create outlines for your type. All right? So to create outlines, make sure that your type is selected just like this. Go to the type menu and go down and choose create outlines. And that's all it is. Look, all that is that. It takes, this is no longer live text. I cannot at this point change the font weight. You know what I mean? Like I can't go from bold to regular. I can't change the font from, say, whatever this font was, which I can't even remember now which one it was. But I can't change the font from this font to, say, Arial or Helios or something like that. I can't do that. I can only do things like distort the text. These are graphics. These right now are nothing more than this right here. That's what it is. That right there and that are almost the same thing, except this is much more fancy than that shape right there. That's just a basic shape. This is a compound shape which somebody built, each one of those letters, and made it so that it became actual type. All right?
Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to say. I can now take this type if I want, and I can drag it in there, and I can create a symbol type, and I'm going to make it a graphic. Always keep this in mind, too. Whenever you export this, you don't need to export it as a movie clip because we're not working with movie clips. We're not working with Flash or any of that. Just a graphic, okay? So whenever you make these things, they're graphics. Got that?
Okay.
And then you hit OK, and now that's in there. There's my type. I've done it. But that is no longer live type. If you send this to me and I open it up, because it is no longer live type, that type will be perfect. It'll look exactly the way it should look. And you should be careful to do this with all the text before you create your symbol and send the symbol to me. All right?
Got it.
Do you guys both understand why I'm going over this and understand the point of it?
Yes.
All right. Now, the other thing that I wanted to tell you is another very subtle little thing. You'll notice I got these symbols in here. I got a bunch of symbols. These are things that I just didn't get rid of. Whenever you start working with a project that's going to involve a 3D revolve or a 3D extrude and bevel, the first thing that you probably want to do is to come in here and select all the unused. Oh, by the way, this is what your symbol panel will look like. Just like your swatch panel, there are a number of default symbols that they put in there just to get you started. And most of the time, you'll never use these things for anything. So what I'm saying to you is that I generally go in and I select all the unused ones and I click the garbage can and I delete all of them. Okay, so that leaves me with just type create outlines. And the reason that didn't go away, guys, is because on the desktop, it took my original and it turned it into a symbol. So now the symbol is sitting on my desktop or on my on my page, right? So if it's sitting on my page, it's being used, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, right? It's there, it's being used. So this says select all unused. So all those others were not out here on my desktop. They got selected and I could throw them away. But because this one is on the desktop, it's being used. So that's why it did not get selected. Okay?
Okay.
Did you know this? I mean, is this, I hope I'm teaching you some things you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, this is important because now you're going to be creating symbols and you're going to be utilizing symbols. There's actually many other ways that you could use symbols. This is just one way that you can use symbols, okay? So I just wanted you to know this. Now, the next thing, I got this gun here. And earlier on, I showed this. This is a project that I worked on today. And I actually built this in Adobe Illustrator. And I went in and I traced the gun. I actually did a tracing of Calamity Jane. I did a tracing of Hickok, and I did the cards. The rest of this were just elements that I built in Illustrator. This whatchamacallit here, this little framing thing, that's another graphic I picked up online. And the background, you can see the background, there's some wood. So I put this whole thing together to represent a funeral notice for Wild Bill Hickok. That's what this is. And it was for a project. And I used this gun in that project. Okay. So I just give you an idea of why I've got the gun here and what the purpose of it is. Okay. Wild Bill Hickok, actually Wild Bill is the name of the hot sauce too. So somebody, I believe one of the guys who submitted used a gun in it. Now here's the thing, and this is why I got the gun out. The gun is a bitmap. It really is. All it is a bitmap. It's something I found on the internet. See it? So it's a bitmap. The reason that I got this here is because I wanted to show you something else. This is something else that you may encounter. If you grab bitmaps of any kind from the web, have either one of you done this for the project? Did you get any bitmaps from the web that you're going to be using in your project?
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, you're going to maybe get them if you go in and you grab like an ingredients, and if you grab the barcode, they might be a bitmap. Okay? You know what I'm talking about? The barcode that you might use on your box or on your label?
Yep, got it.
Yeah. So here's the problem, and this is why this is here. If I were to try to take this bitmap, and if I were to click and drag it into the symbols panel, watch what happens. I'm going to call it gun. And I'm going to change it into a graphic because that's what you always change it into. Watch what happens. I hit OK. A symbol definition cannot contain a linked image. Okay? I hit OK. So what it's telling you is that any kind of a linked image cannot be turned into a symbol. Since this gun is a linked image, let me go to the Windows menu. Let's open up links, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here's my linked gun. Okay? Links panel, linked gun. That's it. See it? So it's a linked image, and you can't really use linked images. So what do? Well, theoretically, let's try this. Let's try coming in here, and let's go into this, and let's go. I guess I have to click on this. There we go. Now let's try it. Let's try embed image. Okay, so now that image is embedded. Let's see if it will allow me to do it with an embedded image. It might. Let me click and drag it in there now. Call it gun. And let's change it from movie clip to graphic. Let's hit OK. Okay, see, it did it. It did it. Okay? But there's a problem. The problem is, can you see it? Can you see the little symbol in there? See what I'm pointing at?
Yeah.
Can you see? It's a very subtle thing, but can you see that there's a white background on that gun?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So if I were to take this guy right here, and if I were to make this thing really big, watch this. I make this really big. And if I go Object, Arrange, Send to Back, you see what I got?
You have a black border with a white background.
Yeah, it's not really a black border. It's basically what it is the black boxes back there. But since this is a bitmap, or actually it's an embedded JPEG, let's go back to our links. It's a JPEG. See the JPEG?
Yeah.
Okay. JPEGs cannot be transparent. They do not have transparency. So in other words, there's no way that I could make that background in Adobe Illustrator transparent without doing some very serious tracing of that gun. So if I want that gun to be not against a white background, I have to do some fancy footwork to make that happen. You understand?
Yes.
So far, right? So that means I have to do one of two things. That means I either have to take the JPEG into Photoshop and I have to select all the white area and get rid of it, or there's one other way that I could do this. I mean, I could actually get the pen tool and I could draw around the whole gun, but that would take a lot of time. And I'll tell you what, to be honest with you, I wouldn't want to do it. It'd be too much work. But what I can do, let me hide this. Object, hide, selection. I can click on the gun. I can select the gun. I can go to the object menu. I can come down to image trace. Oop, I guess I deselected it. Let me see. View, show edges. What's going on with this? Why is it? Oh, I know why. I know why. Let me undo this. Let's go edit, undo, move, undo, hide, edit, undo, move. Let's undo, move, send to back, undo scale, undo new symbol. Okay, I had to remove it. It was a symbol. That's the problem. All right, you can't do what I'm about to do in a symbol. So you have to do this before you make it into a symbol. So I'm going to click on this guy, make sure it's selected, go to the object menu, and I'm going to come down to image trace, and I'm going to go make. And I get something that looks like that, which, I mean, I suppose realistically, if that's good enough for the kind of image you're looking for, you just go with it and you're done. But it's certainly not good enough for me. So what I'm going to do is up here on the image trace, this is the image trace properties bar. See at the top here? There's a panel here, image trace panel, and I can bring the image trace panel out, and I have a bunch of different. Have you guys worked with the image trace very much?
Not at all.
No?
Not very much, no.
Okay. To be completely honest with you, you may not realize it right now, but this thing is going to be an amazing thing for you down the road. Once you start working with this, once you start seeing the power of what you can do with this panel and this effect where you're tracing an image, you're going to find that this is incredibly valuable. So right now there are presets, there are views, there are modes. Generally, I don't mess with the preset. I just leave it set to default, which will the default preset will show you what the mode effect will be. In this case, black and white. Tracing result, or I can go tracing result with outlines and just look at the outlines. I generally just use tracing result. I leave it at default. I leave it at tracing result because I want to see what I'm doing. The mode, there are a bunch of different modes in here. You got color, grayscale, and black and white. Okay, so in this particular case, this is a color picture. So if I wanted to, I could go in and I could choose color, and I could trace this as a colored picture. But here's the thing that I want you to understand. If you take a look at my piece, everything in my piece is black and white and gray. And I don't know whether you've ever heard of letterpress printing before. Have you ever heard of letterpress printing?
Like back in the old days?
Yeah, it's a very old style of printing, and they used wood blocks, and they would print graphics in multiple steps. And this is supposed to represent an example of letter. It doesn't entirely do it, but it kind of gives the flavor of a letterpress print job. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying, instead of make this color, I'm trying to make this just black and white and gray. Okay, so the mode that I'm going to choose is, and again, I could go into color. Okay, let me just quickly go into color. See, and it generates. See how it generates it in color? And then I can play with my settings, and I can make this thing look a lot better. But what I want to do is I want to go into grayscale, okay, because that's what I'm really looking for. I'm looking for a way of approaching this thing from gray, the grayscales. All right, so now I got my grays going here, and it's a good start, but what I need to do is I need to start working around with these panels, right, or these sliding devices right here. So I can choose less grays or more grays. So let me just click on this and drag it down, and let's go with less grays, and you can see what happens. You see what happens? Actually, in certain ways, it don't look too bad. So that's one way to go. Or you could come up and you could go more grays. Let's bring it way over to here, and let's see what that does. There. And you get much more detail. So actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it down to about a quarter, right about there. Let's see what that does. Maybe a little bit more. Let's go a little bit more, right about there. Okay, let's leave that there for a minute. Then I have paths and corners. All right, now I'm at 50%. Low pass would do this. If I go to low pass, watch what happens to the overall gun. You see what it does? You see how everything kind of looks choppy and you start losing detail?
Yeah.
Let's go the other way. I'm going to go up to about right up to about 75. 74 is good. Let's see what that does. There, you see how you get a much nicer overall shape of this?
Yeah, it's
all right. And then what I'm going to do is with the corners, it's the same thing. If I bring the corners all the way down to none, frankly, it doesn't do too much. It doesn't hurt too much. Let's see what happens if I bring it all the way up. It doesn't really change too much for me. So actually, I could probably leave that pretty much anywhere in here, and I'd probably be good to go. Let's try noise. Let me bring all the noise all the way up, and let's see what we get. Okay, so you see what happens when I start bringing noise up? It starts to fall apart again. So I'm going to go the other way, and I'll go to less noise, and I get better detail. Okay? So I think I probably want to hit the noise somewhere relatively close to the middle. Let's try 50. Yeah, that don't look too bad. Okay, so the reason that I'm showing you this and the reason that I'm doing this is because what I've just done is, and I'm not quite finished yet. I'm almost finished, but I got a couple of more steps. What I've done here is I've come in and I've taken this piece of art, which is a bitmap, and I've actually turned it into a piece of vector art. Once I do this, two things can happen. I can make it as big or as small as I want because it is now a piece of vector art. And I can use it as part of a symbol because it's a piece of vector art. Okay? So do you understand why I'm doing it?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna say that this is good enough for my purposes. I could keep playing with these sliders a bit more, and I could get more and more detail or less detail. You see what I mean? I think I like the less detail better. I think that actually is a better look right there. Let me try it even a little bit lower. Go back a little bit and see what I get. Yeah, too bad. I probably should be right about there. I think I was about right where I was in the first place. Somewhere in there is probably pretty good. Maybe a little bit less. That's probably good. And again, I can play around with these paths and just keep going with it until I get something that I really like. I'm just going to accept this for now, okay? So I can close this, and then what I need to do is I need to make this trace permanent. And to do that, once again, I go up to the Object menu, and I come down to image trace, and I go expand, because it's already traced and it's already selected, okay? Hit expand. You see now how this suddenly becomes a piece of vector art? All these little areas are vector art. You see that?
Yes.
All right. So now what I need to do is I need to get rid of some of the white area in here. How I do that, watch this. I'm going to take this thing. I'm going to make this thing big again. Let's bring this thing all the way over to here. Okay. Object, arrange, send to back. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click on this. And I have a choice. I can actually come over here and I can get the group selection tool. All right. And I can grab the group selection tool and I can come in here and I can click and I can delete. And you see how it threw away all that stuff that I deleted?
Can you do it again?
Yeah, edit, undo, clear. So this is a grouped object. See how it all selects? The whole thing's grouped, right?
Right.
Okay, now I could ungroup it if I want, but then the problem is if I ungroup it, then every single one of these little shapes that you see here will be on its own. And it will be a lot more dangerous for me to do that. But if I use the group selection tool, has anybody talked to you about the group selection tool very much?
I've used it.
You understand what it does, right? It takes an object or a group of objects that have been grouped together, and it allows you to go in to a grouped object and select one of the objects from within the group, right? Yeah, well, that's what I'm doing. So I have this grouped object here, right? I select it. With the group selection tool, if I come in and click on this big white area, I now have just that big white area selected. If I hit delete, that goes away. The rest of it doesn't get affected because I'm only taking one section of within the group. Now do you understand?
Yes.
Good. So now I'm going to come in here on that white, and I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to come in here on that white, and I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to come in here and delete this area of white. And look at that. You see what I got? I got a really nice outlined graphic of that gun that I can use in my work. It looks pretty good. And because it's a piece of vector art, I can make it as big or as small as I want. The most important thing is, number one, when I click on this, it's still grouped together because I never ungrouped it. Do you guys understand that?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's important to keep this thing grouped because you can see, look at all these little individual shapes here. Every one of those little grays that you see there is an individual shape. So if you ungroup this thing, you're going to have a mess of these different shapes, and you could actually start selecting things and moving them around and make a mess out of it. So what you probably want to do is you want to probably keep this thing grouped at all times. So you understand why I'm doing it?
Yeah. It beats
Right.
using the pen tool.
Right. That's the first thing. The second thing is now this is a completely silhouetted. This is no longer a bitmap with a white background. This is a silhouetted piece of art that I can use, and that's more or less how I did that gun right there. And you can see now I could lay that gun in front of all kinds of other stuff, and it looks really nice. What do you think?
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah. So now what you can do with this thing is you can click on this gun, and because this gun is no longer a bitmap, number one, and number two, it's a transparent background, you can take this gun and you can drag it into here, and you can create a symbol gun. And remember, you always want to create a symbol, which is a graphic symbol. Hit OK. And see now, that becomes a gun symbol. See the little crosshair right there? That's right in the center of the symbol. This is no longer just a graphic of that gun. This is actually a symbol now. And a symbol is what you want to create when you create your labels. All right?
Okay.
So far, you're with me?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to get rid of this. And here's my hot sauce. So let me just quickly show you what I'm talking about. This right here is my label for my bottle. and take a look at this. I'm going to drag it out. Okay. And since it's a symbol and since it's a piece of vector art, I'm going to make it big so we can really take a look at it. There we go. So you see how that, because it's all vector, you see how I was able to beautifully bring that up without any trouble whatsoever?
Yes.
So what I did here was I set some type. I built this nutritional facts, which you don't really have to build that nutritional facts because if I'm not mistaken, they supplied you with one, didn't they? Did you guys look at your nutritional facts or your
Additional information you gave us, it gave us all of the stuff we needed.
Right. So what I'm saying is at the time I built this label, they hadn't put that additional information into the course yet, so I didn't have it. So just so I could have one, I built one. And it's all fake, which is okay because it's really a pretend label. And as long as you have the information there, you're good. Now, I didn't show a barcode on this label because this barcode, or this label, I should say, this label is on a bottle which is inside the box, and the barcode is on the box. So if this bottle was not in a box, I would have put a barcode on it, but since it comes in a box, I didn't do it. You understand the difference? The reason I'm doing what I'm doing?
Yep.
Okay, but and where I got this information was distributed by the nutritional facts and the net weight. Those are items that are on a bottle that I used for reference, just like I explained to you guys. If you go to, did any of you get to go do that yet? Go to the market and check out boxes or bottles?
Well, I had a box with me when I did mine.
Okay. So you understand why I wanted you to have the box there so that you could use that as a reference for what kind of information you would find on a box.
Yeah, mine's in a foreign language, which I didn't realize.
Ah.
But it is all centered, and that's why I centered mine on my box.
You can center certain things, but I would not see this copy over here. I flush left, righted that. I would not center that kind of copy. Any copy that you're going to read, unless it's a poem or something, I would not center it. I would either go flush left, right, or go with a justified. It just looks better. Now, if you want to have distributed by and that kind of information centered small somewhere, that's okay. But I would avoid doing the centered because it just doesn't look right. It's not something that people are normally used to seeing. So I'd rather you avoid doing that at all costs if you can.
Okay.
That's the reason why I asked you not to do it, for that reason. So anyway, basically what I did was I took my elements, my logo. Now I added that star. The star was not part of the original design. It was something that I added to my label. So whether you do something like that or not is totally up to you, but we are graphic designers, and if you want to try something like that, feel free to do so. Spicy and sweet, Wild Bill's Gourmet. Now, what I could have done with this, and I probably should have done it, would be to move this net weight down a little bit, maybe even make it smaller, move this a little bit, spicy, sweet, and then put gourmet hot sauce under here. That would be the only other thing that I would do to make this thing a little bit better right now. But I'm not going to go to the trouble of doing it at this point because I got other things I want to do tonight. Maybe later if I run out of time and I have time to work on this, I'll go back and fix it for you. But I think you get the general idea. What you want to do with your label is make sure that you pick a label size that works properly for your product, whether it is a bottle for perfume, whether it is a jar for hot sauce, or whether it's a bottle of wine. Make sure that your label is going to work properly on that, and make sure that whatever graphics you apply to any one of the label parts that you're going to create has the correct information on it. All right?
How do we make the label clear?
Oh, well, I was just about to get to that. That was my next thing I was going to talk about. So here's the deal. Let me go to, where would it be? Box graphics. Okay, so here's your box graphics. So how would you make the box clear, the label clear? Now, what you're talking about is on the side here. See Wild Bill? and then the bottle on the side.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do is I wanted that bottle and that Wild Bill to go on that side, and I wanted it to be able to show me the darkness on it. So here's what I did. Let me just show you. Let me move this out of the way. Let me go to the layer. Let me do this real quick. That's the top. Yeah, that's that. What I want, I think, is the box sample. All right, I'm going to hide all that. Let's see. There we go. Okay, that's what I want. Unlock this. Okay, so actually, before I do that, so what I'm going to do is let me bring just this back and just this back. There. Okay, so here's how we're going to do this. I am going to start off by taking this guy and moving it over here, moving that over here, and moving this over here as well. Okay?
Okay, I'm gonna just real quick. So when we go to do our box first, like we obviously have to make the box 3D first. We take our elements off of what we've already designed.
You can do that, or you can. I'm actually going to show you. I'm actually going to show you how I built the side. Here's the side. I'm going to show you how I built the side. Wait.
Right, I mean, like to make the box, to put the box together without any design on it. We have to take the design that we've already put.
I'll show it to you. I'll show you exactly how to do it. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I got my bottle and I got my logo. That's what's going to go on the side, nothing else. But what I want to do is I want to make sure that I get it to fit properly on the side. So what I would do is I'd come over to my box and I would create a rectangular shape. Come on. Why am I not getting my rectangular shape here? Try it again. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to create a rectangular shape. And notice that I'm creating a rectangular shape to the live area of the box. Do you see what I'm doing?
Yes.
I'm making a panel. There's my panel right there. See it? See how it fits perfectly on that panel?
Yes.
All right. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this guy. I think it's actually this panel here. I just want to make sure I got the right size. Yeah, it's good enough. That'll do it. Okay, so I'm going to take this thing and move this thing over here. And right now, you see what it's got? It's got a red or orange fill on it. For a second, I'm going to swap it. And now it only's got a little orange outline on it. Okay?
Okay.
Only reason I'm doing this is because I want to be able to take this graphic right here and I want to sit it properly on that panel. And that's probably pretty good. Let me move it over just a touch. Like about like that. That's too much. There. Okay? So there is what my side panel is going to look like. There's no fill. There's a little red line. I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to come over and I'm going to select that little orange line. It's not red, but orange. And I'm going to hit none. Now when I deselect this, there's nothing but that panel. You see it?
Yep.
But there's still that shape. You see the shape?
Yeah.
And it's completely transparent, isn't it?
Yes.
All right. Now, what I'm going to do is this is two steps. First step is I'm going to select both of them, or all of it, object group, okay?
Okay.
Then I'm going to come into my swatches panel, and I actually already have one in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this, and I'll create another one just so that you can see me do it. Drag it in, and this one I'm going to call side, S-I-D-E _ A-L-T. So it's the alternate side. Remember, you do not want to make a movie clip. You want to create a graphic, and you'll click OK. And now that thing is a symbol. And watch what happens. There's my box front. See it?
Yes.
There's my box side. See it?
Yeah.
And that's exactly the same thing as this one. This is my side alt. These two are exactly the same as one another. It's just this is the one that I made before. This is the one I just made to show you. So if you want to put graphics onto your box that have no color other than the graphic itself, you're going to choose to make the size of the panel as a transparent box with no fill and no stroke.
I was actually talking about the label. Is it the same thing for the label? Because perfume bottles don't have labels on them. They have like a clear sticky label that has the text on it, but typically an actual like a fancy perfume bottle doesn't have a label. They want you to be able to see the.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying to you is that this guy right here has on it, see that line there? See that blue line?
Yeah.
That blue line is actually the label, but it's transparent. It has no fill, it has no stroke on it. So the only thing that you're going to see on the box, I'll tell you what I'll do to make this easier for you. I'm going to go in.
I understand for the box. I'm talking about the label that you're putting around your bottle.
It'll work the same way.
Okay, that's what I wanted to
Yeah, no, it'll work exactly the same way, except that if you don't want to have like, say, for instance, you don't want your label to be white, you don't want it to be black, you don't want it to be orange, you just want it to be transparent, make sure that you get the correct label size and make it transparent have to make sure that you put the shape on there so that you can define the size of the label, like I'm doing here. But you can make it transparent with no fill and no stroke. Okay. Then whatever graphics you put on top of that transparent label will apply properly to your box or your bottle, doesn't really matter which, and you will have the graphics on a transparent background, and you'll see what's underneath it.
Okay.
I'm going to do that with this box right here so that you can see what I'm talking about. So let me go to the window menu and let me go to Appearance. And I'm going to click on 3D Extrude and Bevel, and I'm going to bring this up. Okay? Let me bring it up over here so that you can see. Let me close this and let me bring out my, oh, I can't close it now. Hold on. Let me cancel. Let me do a couple of things here. Let me, first of all, let me find my symbols. Let me bring my symbols here. And now let's go to my window and let's go to Appearance. And now let's click on 3D. There we go. Okay. So you can see your symbols here, right? See your symbols?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see it. There's my box. I'm going to hit Preview and my box gets built. And all the settings stayed basically the same on this. Okay? So now all I'm going to show you is how to apply my symbol that I just created onto this box and what happens when I do that. So to do that, I go to Map Art and I get all these different sides. Check it out. Right now, there are 6 different sides, obviously, because this is a rectangular box. Top, bottom, 2 sides, the front and the back, 6 sides. Right now, I'm on side number 1, which is the front side. So actually, I don't even have to swap through here. But if I do that, can you see the little red line as I move from side to side? Can you see it changing?
Yes.
Yeah, it's going from side to side. There's my front. I'm going to come in here. I did side alt. I'm going to click on side alt, and it places side alt on my box. Okay? It's rendering it. Give it a chance to render it. It's a rather strenuous process. Give it a second. There we go. And look at that. I'm gonna hit just if I can. Am I frozen? Come on. Yeah, it looks like I've frozen up. Can you see though that this now is on the box, and because I didn't put any color on the background, it basically is using the color of the box. So do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, so that's got a transparent background to it. I don't know what I'm going to have to do with this. Let me see. I guess I'm going to have to quit this. It looks like it's frozen on me. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Okay, there we go. Okay. Hit okay. There we go. Okay. So there you go. That's how you do it. And if I wanted to do this on the side, go back in here, hit preview. If I wanted to, you know, I could go in. It's going to have to generate this thing again. This is a big file. That's really what this comes down to. This is a big file. I could, you know what? I'm not even going to do it. I'm not even going to do it because I'm going to move on. I could go in now and I could go and I could put a graphic on the side of the box. I'm not going to bother doing it because there's you were talking about bottles anyway. So let's go to the bottle. Are you clear on this though? You understand the debate? You have any questions about this? Because this is how you're going to make your box. I did two things. I actually did this by creating the graphic, and I actually distorted the graphic on the front of this. I showed it last week. Do you guys remember me doing that from the lesson last week?
Yes.
And I think you guys said that you did this with a project. That was a billboard or something.
Yes, in Photoshop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one way to go about doing it. And I don't have an objection to you doing it that way, but I kind of would like to see you do it with the 3D effects because I think it's a kind of important thing for you to know how to do. So it's the kind of thing that you probably should do. But it's totally up to you, you know, whether you do that or not. All right? Any questions about this part? No?
No.
Okay, here comes the hard stuff. All right. It's not that it's so hard, really. It's just that we're with the bottle. Now, we went over how to create this bottle, and I'm going to select this bottle, and I'm going to go to my symbols. I can bring my symbols back over here for a second. And window appearance. I keep closing my appearance panel. Let's see, do I have it out here? Yeah, there it is. That's the appearance panel. I'm going to click on the eyeball for 3D Revolve. Okay, so I've shut the 3D Revolve off. Okay, and I just wanted to remind you, this is kind of important, that do you guys remember me demonstrating how to do this edge of this bottle? Does anybody not remember me doing that?
I mean, I remember you doing the edge of the bottle, but it wouldn't hurt to, you know, have a little refresher.
It wouldn't what? Oh, okay. Well, so what I did basically was this. I'm going to come in here. Basically what I did, let me zoom in on this bottle right there. And what I did basically was first of all, I built the top, and then I built the bottle. And then what I did was I cut the bottle to create this section of the sauce inside here, and I moved it slightly. And then I cut it again to make this label. So I end up with four things. I end up with the label right there. See it? That's that element right there. This is your sauce. That's your sauce element right there. And this guy right there is the main body of your bottle. The main body of your bottle is what I used to make that element and that element. So I didn't have to go redraw this more than once. All right, so let me go edit, undo, edit, undo, edit, undo. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a little part of this center bottle for you. And then you can, if you understand how I'm doing it, you can take it from there. First thing I want to do is, to do this, just so that you understand, you have to have a bottle that's kind of sideways. It should be sitting sideways. And the more sideways it is, the better. You don't want it to be like, see how this bottle next to it's sort of a 3/4 view where it's tilting forward? A lot of times you'll see pictures of bottles online that are like that. You want to try to find one that's sitting perfectly sideways like this. You understand that?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. What we're going to make is we're not going to draw the entire box. We're going to draw what they call a profile. Just like a classic profile, if you turn your face to the side and you look at yourself, that's a profile. The side of this bottle represents a profile of the bottle. And that profile is what we're going to use to revolve that bottle from. Okay? So that's the first thing that you need to understand. It's very important that you understand what we're doing. And it doesn't have to be a closed shape. It can be an open shape. Okay? So let me start off by doing the cap. And then if after I do the cap, if you think you understand it, the same process is what you do to build the rest of the bottle. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to cut it into pieces to make the other pieces, like this guy right here. And if you want to see the entire demonstration of this, has anybody looked at my clip that I made showing how I did the entire thing?
I have.
Okay, so I gave you all the details of how to do the whole thing in it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you really want a complete review of the whole thing, I'll let you go back to that and look. I'll give you a partial review of it tonight, but if you want the whole thing, go back and look at that video. It's in week 1. Isn't that correct? Who watched it?
Breezy.
Breezy, week 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so go back to week 1 and you'll find it. It's, I guess I called it revolving the bottle or something like that. Anyway, I'm sure you'll find it. It's there. Okay. So I need to make a profile. I need to make half of the bottle. The profile should be half of the bottle. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag a guide out and I'm going to place it roughly in the middle of my bottle, right about there. Go to the view menu and go to guides and show my guides. Okay, so there's my guides. And actually, I got too many guides here. Let me see if I can view guides, unlock guides. Let me get rid of a couple of these guides. I don't need that one. I bet you it's on a locked layer. Yep, it is. All right, let me get rid of that. Delete it. There we go. Delete that one. I don't need those. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is select that guide right there, and let me drag it down and lock that layer. There, and now that guide's locked. Okay, I'm on the do layer. And the reason I got the done layer, because obviously I got the done elements here. I'm going to hide the done elements. We're going to focus on the do layer. So I'm going to come in a little closer on that cap, right about like that. Okay? I'm on the do layer. What do layer means is I'm going to actually draw this thing on this layer. That's what the do layer means. Okay? I know it sounds kind of ridiculous, but that's what it means. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to bring out my basic shape tools, because really I'm going to use 2 basic shapes to create my cap. That's all it takes. And I'm going to use my rounded rectangle tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over a little bit past my center point. And I'll explain why I do that in a minute. But I'll come a little bit past that. I'm holding the shift key down and I'm dragging, actually, I'm sorry, I'm not holding the shift key down. I'm just going to drag myself out a cap that goes to about there, right about like that. Now, if I don't like the amount of roundness I have on the corners of my caps, you guys on your keyboard, you got the 4 arrow keys in the lower right corner?
Yes.
Right. If you go to the down arrow, if you push the down arrow, it makes your roundness of your corners less. Up arrow gives you a slightly more rounded corner. You see what I'm doing?
Okay.
Can you see it actually occurring?
Yeah, but you don't have a stroke or anything on that?
It's okay. I can put a stroke on it in a second. Not a problem. Okay, so you get the general idea. When you get the shape the way you want it and about the position that you want it, which I'd say is right about there for me, I let go. And yes, you're right. I have no stroke on it. But what I can do is I can just click on the default fill and stroke, bring the fill forward, and click done. And now what I have is I have a black stroke on it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now what I want to do is I want to get my oval tool, and I want to click and I want to hold the shift key down and I want to drag myself a little bit of a round circle, something just about like that. All right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to move it over to about there. And let me zoom in real close on this so that you can see what I'm doing. And let me go to my layers and I'm going to hide the original. Okay, so now do you see what I have here? I have a rectangular shape and I have a circular shape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of them and I'm going to use my align palette and I'm going to align both of them to the bottom. You know what? Align to artboard. I want to align it to selection. Let's go edit, undo. Edit, undo, align. There we go. Make sure that the align panel is set to align to selection, not artboard. The reason I had it set to align to artboard is because earlier I was doing something where I was aligning something to the artboard. So one of the problems that you might have occur is you would have it aligned improperly. like I just did. Line to selection, right? And then I'm going to align them both to the bottom. And you notice that they didn't move. You know why? Because I have, go to the view menu, I've got smart guides set up. And you know what smart guides do, guys? Do you remember what smart guides do?
Snap it into place.
That's right. They snap to. In other words, they will snap to. In the case of a vector program like this, what they'll do is they'll snap to the vector paths, and that's what I did. If you take a look at this, it's actually snapped to the vertical and snapped to the horizontal. So that's what I'm looking for. I want that little bit of a cap look to it. I'm going to select both of these guys. I'm going to go to the window menu, and I'm going to go to Pathfinder. Where are you? Right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to unite those two shapes into one shape, like that. Okay? And actually, I got too many anchor points here. Let me zoom in here. Let's see if I can fix this. I got to get rid of that one in the middle. I think the one in the middle is the one that's got to go. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so if you run into a situation where you had, like me, that one in the middle, and it was making it dented like that, did you see what I did? I just used the delete anchor point tool. When you have your pen tool, I don't know how much you guys know about the pen tool, but you have the pen tool, you have the add anchor point tool, the delete anchor point tool, and the, what the heck's the name of it? I can't think of the name of it. The anchor point, regular anchor point tool. You familiar with those tools?
All but the last one.
What it does basically is it changes anchor points, okay? If you click on this tool right here, and if you come in and click on that anchor point, let's see if I can get the anchor point. Where is it? I can click on it. Hold on, I have to select it first, I guess. Here we go. Okay, if I click on this, I can click on that point, and I can see how I've changed the anchor point.
Oh, I like that tool.
Well, yeah, but it's not going to work here. It'll work somewhere else, but it's not going to work in this thing. So, all right. So let's zoom out. Let's go view zoom out, and let's see what's going on here. Go view zoom out. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to come back real quickly. Are you guys okay with this so far? You following me?
Yep, it looks like a peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah.
It looks like a what?
Looks like you're starting to make a piece of bread.
Okay. Well, yeah, but it will look different in a minute. It'll look a whole lot different in a minute. All right. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my stroke, and I'm going to change it from black to red. I want it to be a red color, and I guess a bright red is probably good. Maybe not too bright. Let me go this way with it, and let me bring it back a little bit that way. That's probably pretty good right there. Nice red color. Now if I go and I show my original, can you see it a lot better now?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to actually move it one anchor point over. Now, here's the trick to this. So do you guys think you could do this much? Do you have any problem doing that much?
No.
No problem.
Do you think you could do the same thing with the overall bottle? The same basic thing with the overall bottle, except that you're going to use the pen tool down here.
Right.
Okay. And again, go ahead.
Okay. I guess what I'm going to say is that wine bottles are a little bit different.
Yeah, but they're not much different than the bottle that I have here, and it's just a matter of tracing the bottle using the pen tool. In other words, what I did, if you go and take a look at my video, you'll see that I traced the edge of that tool with my pen tool, and I did it with as few anchor points as I possibly could. And
Okay,
actually,
that's what I was working on today, and I thought until seeing this again, I thought that I had a good handle on it, but looks like I'm gonna have to try to go back and start from scratch and do it again, because I couldn't, even with tracing it with that pen tool, I couldn't get the overall curve.
well, how many times have you tried doing a thing like this?
Only a couple.
Okay, so what I'm trying to make you understand is I've done this many, many times. So for me, it's a lot easier to do because I've done it many, many times. Once you've done this a number of times, you're going to find that it'll be a whole lot easier for you. Where it'll be difficult right now is in doing it when you haven't done it too often. So it's just really a little bit of practice that will get you where you got to go. If you want, I'll go and I'll draw a little bit of the box or the little bit of the bottle below it, give you an idea of how to do it. But again, if you go back and watch my video, I do the whole thing in the video, and I think the video will probably give you a great idea of how it's done. Even though it's not the same bottle, I have to be honest with you, in certain ways, the bottle that you're about to do, it's really a lot easier than doing the bottle that I'm doing, because my bottle's got a whole lot more detail to it, where yours is just a couple of really smooth, long curves. So you should probably have an easier job doing that than you would have if you were making the bottle I'm working on, okay?
So if our bottle is, say, completely round, do we use like the Eclipse tool for like the lid instead of?
And see, and that's what I'm talking about, because the top of the bottle is so much tinier. It's, you know what I mean? And I guess you have to get it in a little bit tighter. So the way that you're doing the top of this bottle and making the cap is a little bit different for the wine bottle because it's so much smaller.
Yeah, but all you're doing is drawing whatever the shape you see there. I mean, this cap doesn't even have, see that bulb that sticks out there? This cap don't even have that. I'm inventing that. I'm inventing it to make it look interesting. I'm trying to do this the simplest way I can show you. I just took a rectangular shape and put a bulb edge on it. Now I'm going to cut this away and I'm going to revolve this into a cap. And when I get done, it's going to be a very believable looking cap. So what I'm saying to you is, you know, when you go to make your cap, all you're going to do is make a rectangular shape. I mean, that's all it is really. It's just a rectangular shape. And then you're going to extrude it. The hardest part will be in making the edge of the bottle. And my bottle, let me go fit artboard and window. And let me zoom in on this. Look at the shape of my bottle, okay? The reason I use those bubbles on the top, let me get this out of the way so I can scroll this down a bit. Look at the bottle. You see how it sort of rounds out here? And you see how it rounds out there? And you see how down here I got these 3 round things down here? Your bottle isn't going to have any of that. Your bottle is just going to be a very long sweeping curve that comes out and then comes down and then around. It's going to be a very long sweeping curve right on down. And in reality, that's a heck of a lot easier than what I'm doing with this bottle right here.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I get what you're saying, that
Yeah, are you?
It's not as intricate as
Not at all. It's not anywhere near as intricate. As a matter of fact, if you want, I'm in Blackboard from 7 o'clock until 11 tonight. If you want to come in and bring the bottle, I will demonstrate it for you. Or better yet, here's what I'll do. You come into Blackboard tonight. What I'll do is you can email me. Do you have your picture that you're using for your bottle? Your JPEG that you're using for your bottle? Send me an email and attach that JPEG to it. And then come into Blackboard. And what I'll do is I won't open up your computer. I'll open up my computer. And on my computer, I'll demonstrate how to do it so you could watch me do it. And then you could see and try that. And you might find it's a lot easier than you might think. Okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to come in here now, and I'm going to hide the original because actually, hold on. I'm a little ahead of myself now. Let me come in here. Okay, let me come in and get this big. Okay. So now what I need to do is one more thing before I'm ready to go. Okay, I got a closed shape here. And I have this shape that goes a little bit beyond my center line. The center line is where I want my graphic to stop because I only want to make a shape that covers around half of my shape. I don't want the whole shape because I'm going to revolve the rest. I'm going to let the machine do the rest. So what I need to do is I need to cut this. So if you go into the eraser, see where the eraser is? There's the scissors tool and the knife tool. Now, the eraser tool creates a closed shape. The knife tool creates a closed shape. I want an open shape. The scissors tool is what you use to create an open shape. You got that?
Yeah.
So I'm going to come over top of my shape, and I'm going to start by clicking right on that guide. And then I'm going to come down to the bottom, and I'm going to sit over top of the path and click right on that guide again. Now what I can do is I can come over here and I can take this piece and I can bring this piece over to here. Okay? And see what I ended up with? Everybody see that? Now I'm going to select this thing. You guys understand what do you have any questions about what I just did?
No.
Okay. So I'll go to the effect menu, 3D, revolve, and let me move this over here so you can see it. And I'm going to hit preview. This is set to off axis front, which is the one that I generally like to use for something like this. Hit preview. Look, cap. There it is. Look at that. And that looks like a pretty real cap, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yeah. That looks like a. It looks pretty real.
Yep. Pretty real.
Okay. So, and this is where I have another question. I'm sorry if
No, that's why you're here. No, that's why you're here.
Okay.
Ask away.
Okay. So, again, generally wine bottles don't have like this kind of a cap, and they have corks. So how would we manage that?
Well, watch. Actually, I got a piece sitting right over here that you could probably use for that. Now, I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to bring this piece over here, okay? And then I'm going to go edit copy, edit paste in place, and I'm going to move it over like that, and I'm going to move it up just like that.
Okay.
Just like that. And then what I'm going to do is, let's see if I can pull this thing off. This is an open shape, isn't it? So actually, I can't do it this way. Okay, let me delete that. What I'm going to do is this. You want a cap shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, again, right about there, and I'm going to drag myself out a shape that's about like that, okay? And then you say what you want is you want this thing to have a cap, like a space for a cap. So let's go edit copy, edit paste in place, and then I'm going to move it over like that, see? And then up like that. That's too much. Probably right about, I guess right there is fine. Okay, so you see what I got? I'll accentuate it by bringing it up one more. Okay, so you see what I got? I got my cap coming down to my case. That's going to go around. So you see what I mean? There's your cork inside of your cap. See it?
Okay, yeah. So then you take the 3D and do.
No, not yet. Not yet. You're getting ahead of yourself. I'm going to select these two, combine them. Okay? So now you see I got the shape that I'm looking for?
Yes.
And down here, it's just goes straight across the bottom?
Yeah.
All right. Then I'm going to get my scissors, and I'm going to come over onto my guide. I'm going to click there, and then I'm going to come over onto my guide and my path and click there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and I'm going to delete it. Now look at the shape. There's your cork under your plastic cap. See it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now this one, what I'm going to do is to make this thing a little bit better, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a different color. Let's make this like a dark blue. Make it something like that and hit OK. Okay. Now I'm going to go Effect 3D and Revolve. Hit Preview. Look at that. Hit OK. There it is. That's what the top of your wine bottle should look like.
Okay, yeah, okay. Now that looks more like the top of a.
There's where your cork would be. There is where your cork would be, and then this is the top of your bottle, and then this is where the bottle pinches in and seals off. Now, if you wanted to, what you could do is you could come in with your direct selection tool. All right, if you need this thing to be longer, you can come in here and you can click on this thing and click on that, hold down the shift key and click on that and hold on that, those three, and you can make it longer. See? So now you can make that thing go a little bit longer. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. And that's exactly what I was, kind of looking for. Thank you.
So here's what I'm going to do, just to clarify this for you. Let me click on this guy, and let me go back into, this is very important for you to keep in mind. You need your appearance panel for this, which is right here, okay? And there's your 3D revolve, and I'm going to just hide the 3D revolve so that you can see. Let me do this. Let me first of all go to my layers panel, and let me hide that, okay? And then I'm going to go back to my 3D revolve, and there I'll apply it. Oh, I got to select it first. There's your revolve. And that is the shape that you made to make that revolve. Now, here's the thing I want to tell you. When I made that 3D revolve, was that shape easy to make? Did it seem like it was difficult for you to do? Would you be able to handle that?
Yeah, it doesn't seem difficult, but it doesn't seem like it would be difficult to do, but I'm still going to come in for a little instruction.
That's fine. The only reason I'm trying to show you this is whenever I do these things, I always think about what I'm doing and what's the easiest way I could go about doing it. So when I know that I have a cork underneath something, which is like a shrunk wrap lid is what this is. It's actually a piece of shrunk wrap plastic. I know that there should be a cork showing. So that's what this does up here. It shows that little cork and then the top of your bottle, and then it goes down to a point and it seals off. And in the end, it looks something like that. That's what the outside of a bottle. And what you would do is you would cut this thing right off. And you'd end up with the top of your bottle here with a cork. And then you'd remove the cork and you'd have an open bottle of wine. That's how that should work.
And that's exactly what I was shooting for. So, yeah.
And it should look like that. If you take a look at, I don't know, do you have a wine bottle there that you're using for reference?
Not physically, but I've been kind of looking at different bottles, and
that's what you want. That's
I have gone up and down the other store and looked at different bottles.
That's the shape you want right there. And I just, all I did was this. I made two shapes just like that, and then edit copy, edit paste in place, and then I just offset, oops, wrong way, offset them slightly like that, okay? And then I selected both of them. I went in here and I combined them into one piece, and I have a guide. My guide is out to a certain position, and I just came in with my scissors and I cut the part that I'm not going to use away. And again, I'm looking for profiles. That's what I'm looking for. Profile. Oh, edit undo. I evidently didn't hit that one at the bottom. You do it again. Try it one more time. There we go. I guess I didn't get the top one either, did I? Yeah, I did. And now let's see if I can get rid of it. There we go. There. Okay. And if I do this, the same thing, Effect 3D, Revolve. There you go. Same thing. That's all there is to it. I mean, oops. There we go. So, I mean, it's really very simple. You don't have to do a lot of work with it. Okay? All right, I have a half hour. I got one other thing, guys, I got to show you. I got a half hour to do it. And let me go to my all right, let me see. Go to my layers. Let me see what I got here. Where is it at? And then I'm showing my layers. Original, done. There we go. I think that's it. Let's go view, fit, artboard, and window. And there we go. Okay, so here's the situation, guys. All right, here's the situation. So I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. Delete it all. All right, so now I have my cap, right? I have my sauce. This is my sauce. I'm going to bring my sauce way over here. This is my bottle. Okay, there's my bottle. Now, the reason that I have these things in separate, I have them on separate lines, is because I need the bottle to go over top of the sauce to make the sauce look like it's inside the bottle. And then, of course, my cap has to be at the top of my bottle. You know, so I need multiple pieces to make this thing happen, okay? Now, one of the things that I have to do here is you see my bottle, my actual bottle? My bottle has to be made transparent. If you take a look at that bottle, let me go to my appearance. Opacity, I guess it's 100% overlay. I think I overlaid it. So let me go to opacity, and let me go back to normal. You see what happens, guys? You see what my bottle looks like if I don't use a blend mode? The bottle is opaque. And since that sauce is behind the bottle, you can't see it. You guys understand what I'm showing you here?
Yeah.
So what I did was, instead of showing it normal, I went and I looked at my blend modes. And there's darken. And that don't look too bad. I could use darken. I can also use multiply. That don't look too bad either. So any one of those, I think what I did was overlay. Overlay. After looking at all of them, I felt overlay looked the best. So what a blend mode does is it takes whatever color object you have and it blends that object color into the background color. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the problem. This is the problem. The problem is with the label. Watch what happens here. I'm going to, let's hide this label. Let's see if I can hide this label. Let's go object, hide, selection. Okay, so I'm hiding that label. This is my label. I want to apply that label to my bottle. Actually, let me do it over here. So what I'm going to do is, and by the way, just so that you know, in my symbols, there's my label. See my labels? With this selected, I'm going to go Effect, 3D, Revolve. I'm going to go off axis front, hit preview. You see what I get? I get a beautiful revolve for my label. Map art. I'm going to go to my surfaces. See my surface? I'm going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think it's this one. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to choose my label. Okay, and I'm going to drag my label until it's sitting on my front surface. And I'll actually see if I can scale this to fit. Let's see what that does. That's, I don't think that's good. Let's go, let me hit cancel. I don't want to scale to fit it. Let me map art it again. Okay, I had to go to 6. Okay, 6. And let's go to this, label 2. Okay, and now I'm just going to move label 2 onto here, get it about where I want it, which let's go a little bit further. That's probably pretty good right there. That's good. Actually, a little bit further. Okay, and maybe what I'll do is I'll drag it just up a little bit. That looks pretty good. Okay, so you see I got my label on the box? Maybe I'll move it over a slight bit this way. Okay, so you see what I did? Everybody cool?
Yeah.
You understand this? No problem, right? Or any questions?
No questions.
Good. Hit OK. All right, and I'll hit OK. So now look, I got my label, and I got it mapped, and I even got it in the same position. But now I'm going to put the label on my bottle. And watch what happens. I'll move it into position, and I have a problem. Look at my problem. Can you see what my problem is, guys?
Your bottle needs to be brought forward.
My bottom is fine. Take a look at the top. Can you see at the top there that gray thing? See that gray thing right there? Okay. If I take this thing and if I try to get rid of that by using blend modes, so let's go to transparency, go to window transparency. Okay. It's not going to work. I'm going to go multiply, darken. See? Doesn't work. I'm going to go multiply. Doesn't work. I'm going to go screen. Doesn't work. See what it does? See what it does? Doesn't work. So I got a problem. Normal. I want this label to go on here, but I have to do it using a separate object to make that work. Now, what I'm going to do, and the reason that is because this bottle, I could normally apply this bottle, I could put that label on that bottle. The reason I can't do it is because I'm using this secondary object, that red color object inside there for the fluid inside the bottle, and I'm using a blend mode on that bottle. So do you understand what my problem is? Am I confusing you guys? Hello?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if I can expand this, and by expanding it, I can then maybe get rid of that right up there. So I select this first of all, go to the object menu, and I'm going to expand appearance. And it's now expanded. And let's select it again, and let's go object expand. And now I don't know, but I think if I get my group selection tool, let's see if I can do this. Get my group selection tool, I can come in here, I can click on that and delete it. And then I can click on this and delete it. And then I can come in here and I can start clicking on this stuff right here. And I can delete them. You see what I'm doing? I'm throwing things away. Look at what I'm doing. I'm throwing parts of this away. There are all these little segments here that I'm throwing away. See what I'm doing?
Yes.
And when I'm done doing this, I'll end up with the front section of this with my label. And then I can put that on my bottle. I think I got to be careful here. Yeah, we're good. That'll be good enough. Get rid of that. Okay. I hope I'm not confusing you. I've expanded this, and I'm actually going to zoom in on this real close so I can see what I'm doing. I want to make sure I get all of this. Get rid of that. Oh, too much. Edit, undo, clear. Okay. I'm using the direct selection tool because I want to just get the certain pieces of it. There we go. Delete them. Delete this. And delete that. There we go. Almost there. I'm just getting rid of some of this garbage that is actually back surfaces. Let's see if that does it. Might have gone too far with it. Control Z. Let's see. No, actually, that's okay. I think that'd be all right. Let me just go like that. Delete it. And let me click on that one. I'm going to leave a little tiny bit of it there. Right there. That's good. Let me come over here. Let me come over to here. Let me get rid of that. Delete it. There's something up here. Nope. What is that? Yeah, that is. Delete that. Path. What is that? Delete that. Delete that. I'm almost done. Just a bunch of stuff in here that you're deleting. Okay, so now let's go View, Fit, Artboard, and Window. And what I want to do now is I want to select by marqueing that label and go Object Group. I don't even have to, maybe. No, I don't have to. I don't have to do that. So can you see what I did by expanding it? You see what I did? I made it so I could remove that top area, and now it looks like a label. You see what I did here?
Yes.
Is it clear? Do you understand what I'm doing? Can you handle what I'm doing here? I'm not throwing you off or anything, am I?
No, you made it 3D and then you deleted out the innards so that you couldn't.
Once I made this thing into a once I made it the 3D object, I used a separate shape, which was just a piece. Here's how I got that shape. I went into, let me hide this. I'll show you how I got that shape. Let's go Object, Hide, Selection. How I got that shape was like this. I just simply zoomed in on this a little bit. All right. And let's go. I went too far. Zoom out. What I did was this. Okay. I went over here and I duplicated this shape right here. Edit copy, edit paste in place. Okay. And then what I did was I came in here at my scissors tool and I clicked right about there and I clicked right about there. Okay. And then I took this piece at the top and I threw it away, and the bottom piece and I threw it away, and I'm left with this piece right here. Watch. See? See it?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to go edit undo, and this I'm going to lock, object lock selection, and I'm going to zoom out. Let's go fit artboard and window. There we go. And I'm going to drag a guide out. Let me show you how to finish this. Now that I got the guide out, what I'm going to do is with my pen tool, okay, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on that top piece and I'm going to hold the shift key down. I'm just going to come out to the guide and I'm going to click and I'll place a point. All right. And then I'm going to get my pen tool again and I'll click at the bottom, hold down my shift key, and I'll come over to the guide and I'll click to make a point. So now what I've done is I've created another shape. See, I've created a new shape. And that shape, I'm going to instead of making it that blue, I'm going to make it like a gray color. Okay? Hit OK. Now watch what happens when I select that shape and I go Effect, 3D, Revolve, and hit Preview. There's my shape. Okay? So do you see how I made that shape? See how I did it? Part of my bottle. Got that?
Got it.
Okay. And then I expanded it. What I end up with is this. I end up with my label. Now I can take my label and I can put my label over top of my bottle and I can just move it into position and I'll just keep moving it until I get it situated where I want it and just keep moving it until I get it in position. And there you go. I think I actually got to move it over a little bit more. Right about there might be good. Yeah, pretty good. Right there. One more time. There we go. See that? Actually, right there. There you go. Look at that. Okay?
Got it.
All right. So you think you could do that, guys? What do you think?
Quite possibly. it's gonna take a little doing.
Daddy.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I have a little time left. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to take this guy here. Let me get that sauce out of there. I'm going to take this guy right here. I'm going to move this guy right up there. Okay. And I'm going to do this so you understand how I got this shape. I used part of the bottle to get that shape, right? That part you understand. Yeah. Okay. I want to lighten this up a little bit because I want it to be very close to being white. I'll go really light. Or better yet, you know what? Maybe what I'll do is I will make that a red. That might be a good idea. Let's make it a red. And let's make it a little bit darker. That might make sense. Let's make it even a little darker. There we go. Hit OK. There we go. That's what we want. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, this is a very important point. When you have something that you've already turned into a 3D Revolve, you don't go back up to the effects menu and either apply revolve or revolve. You don't, or go to 3D. You don't use these ever again. Once you got this thing started, you go over to the appearance panel. And what you see, I got 3D revolves here. I got 3 of them. Okay. So these guys here, I want this guy right here. All right. And then I'm going to hit preview and I'm going to map art. And once again, I'm going to find my surface and I'm going to go to label 2. I actually think it's on number 7. Let's go to see what it is. I think it's number 6 or 7. Yeah, I think it's number 7. So let's go here and let's apply label 2. There we go. And I'm just going to move it until it gets on the surface, the front surface, the way it should be. That's pretty close. Let's go a little bit further. See, and you got to move it into position. You actually have to move this thing into position the way you want it. And I think I want it about like that. I think it's probably about good, right about there. That's good right there. Okay? So you see how I did this?
Yeah.
You understand that there are different surfaces and you got to find the right surface. You got to select your symbol and then you have to move it into position. When you get it all into position, oh, and by the way, if you want, you can shade it. I put shading on. Let's see what the shading does. There we go. See how the shading goes on it?
Yeah.
Okay. Hit OK. And hit OK. And there you go. There's my label. That's all it takes to get that label. But it's on a separate object. So again, what you want to do is you want to expand this thing. So you're going to go to you select it. You're going to go to the object menu. You're going to start off by hitting expand appearance. Okay, now it's expanded. Now if you can come up here and you can expand it again, just to make sure it's expanded. Go up to the object menu, expand it again. Object. It keeps expanding. I might have it already all expanded, so I'm going to stop at this point. I'm going to come in, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my, again, my direct selection or my group selection tool, and I'm going to bring the group selection tool over here, and I'm going to start by just selecting all that and hitting delete. And you see what it did? It just removed all of that stuff, and I'm going to delete that. And what I'm doing, this is the important thing for you to understand. The 3D Revolve will actually go in and it will create a 3D object, a revolved 3D object. So even though it's not real, when you expand it, guess what happens? It actually becomes real. It becomes a real 3D object. And it has a front surface and a back surface. So then what you could do is you could go in and you could do what I'm doing to remove part of those surfaces so that you would then have what you need to just make a front label. Normally you wouldn't have to do this, but when you're working with something that has a product in it that needs to show, like I'm doing now, you have to remove some of this stuff so that you end up with a label. And that's enough. Go to the view menu. Let's fit artboard and window. And now with the regular selection tool, okay, I'm going to select this guy. And it goes for, I think it goes for this bottle right here. So let me revolve that. Effect, 3D, revolve, preview. Oh, I didn't get the other one. Hit cancel. Hold on. Let me get both of them. Is it locked? Yeah, object, unlock all. That's what it was. I had it locked because I was copying the one above it. Okay, so object, let's see. 3D revolve. There we go, and 3D revolve. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Sometimes it takes a while. Have you guys tried revolving and extruding these things? Have you had any trouble with any of it?
I haven't gotten that far.
Okay.
But I don't understand. My box is 2 different colors. So I don't know how to make my box 3D with it being 2 different colors.
How is it 2 different colors?
I have 2 different colors.
You can apply.
Is it a color on each panel? A different color on each panel? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, what you do is you don't make the box different colors. You put the color, the back panel or the side panels that have a different color. Instead of making the panel transparent, you make the panel that color. Make the panel that color. Then when you apply that panel with the background color, it'll be that color. Remember how I made the background panel transparent on my bottle for the side of my box?
Yes.
Right. Instead of making it transparent like I did, give it a fill of whatever color you want. Come on, what is with this thing? Why is this taking so long? Give it a color, the color that you want. So instead of having a transparent panel, you'll have the color panel because you'll put it in color instead of no fill and no stroke. That's
So
it.
I make the one panel, say like the big because I have like the big panels and the small panels. So I would make the one panel, and then when I go to put the small panel on, I would just or put the graphic on that side panel.
You'd
I
put
would
it on a color, a background.
the darker color
Instead of making the side panel using a no color like I did for the box that I just worked on. Why is this doing this? What is going on with this? What is happening here? Is this thing locked up again? Well, instead of making the background transparent like I did, because one of you asked me about how to make the background of the graphic label transparent, because she wanted to put it on her bottle, and she wanted the
Yeah, that was me.
okay, so we made that panel transparent. We put the graphics on it, we grouped it, and that was your graphic. It had a transparent background, no fill, no stroke. All I'm saying is that when you do the box, instead of making it transparent, you're going to make the right size panel, but you're going to make it the color that you want it to appear. So when you actually put that side panel on with the graphics on it, it will have that color background.
Okay.
That's all. It's not hard to do. You can't do a 2-color box. The box is going to be one color. So if you want to add color to a panel anywhere, you have to do that with the graphic that you apply to that panel.
Okay.
You clear? I don't know what's going on with this thing.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know what's happening with this thing. This thing is just, it's taking forever. I have no idea why this thing is doing this. All right. So, as I say, I will be in Blackboard from 7 o'clock Mountain Time until 11 o'clock. And if you'd like to come in, feel free to do so. I'll be more than happy to take a look at what you're doing and offer you some assistance with it. And if you want to send me the bottle, I don't know which one of you are. Was it you, Tamara?
Yeah, that was me.
So if you want, send me the bottle, and I will show you how I would do the bottle. And then you can pretty much do that. You can pretty much do the bottle just like, you know what I mean? Just like I'm doing it. The top, I would say, top is what I showed you. That's how you would do the top. I think if you did the top that way, I think it would be very realistic, and that's all you really need to do. But as far as the rest of the bottle, I can tell you flat out, I've already done wine bottles. The last time I taught this class, I did a wine bottle. The only reason I did this hot sauce bottle was because I found that cool-looking bottle, and I thought it would be a lot of fun and a challenge to see if I could make that bottle have all those little features on it. You know, so I actually did the hot sauce bottle for that reason. Otherwise, I might have done a wine bottle, because the wine bottles are actually pretty easy. They really aren't too difficult to do. Sometimes the perfume bottles would be difficult because, again, this is only capable of really revolving things. And you can do certain shapes and whatnot, but it has to be regular shapes. So this isn't, Adobe Illustrator is not a real 3D modeling program. It's kind of like very 3D light, but it's just enough that you can do some really fun and interesting things. And I think it really helps you to get excited about this program, which I would like to see you get excited about this program, because I think there's a lot to be excited about. And this is really starting to aggravate me now. I don't know why this is happening. This is ridiculous. I have no idea.
So before we leave, can I show you the bottle I'm using and ask you a question about doing it?
Yeah, if I can get this thing. Yeah, all right, close the program. Yeah, all right, I'm ditching this because it was getting crazy. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, you can share.
Can you see this bottle?
Yep.
That is
So,
a beautiful
What
bottle.
I was asking, would I just use, like I know like in this area, I can use like the pen tool and then do what you did with this, or can I use like the rectangle and the circle like you did? And this little.
What I would do is I would do a combination of basic shapes and a little bit of pen tool. But keep in mind one very important thing. The way that this bottle is being presented to you is in the way you want your bottle to end up. That's what's called like a slightly forward view. It's very much like the way my bottle ends up looking. When you render this thing, you have to try to do this from a straight-on side view. So you're going to have to use a little bit of imagination and creativity to do that side view of this. Do you understand what I'm saying? You don't want to try to render this thing on this angle. You have to pretend you're looking at it from the exact side in order to make this work. So at the bottom, if you take a look at the bottom part of this piece, that should be, the bottom should be flat, the top should be flat, and you should have that curve going from a flat top to a flat bottom. So that when you revolve this thing 3D, okay, you'll have this angular 3D view of it. And when you do that thing in the middle there, all of that should be just a flat profile. It should have a flat top and a flat bottom that matches up to the bottom of the base of that bottle. And you'll do the same thing with the top. The bottom of it will be flat, and then you'll curve it up to the top. And you'll have it sort of go right to the center point of that straight out. Am I making sense at all?
So I want to make this flat. I don't necessarily.
Yeah, you want to make all of these flat because you'll let the revolve put that revolve in.
Okay.
If you want to come in to Blackboard tonight, I can give you a demonstration of what I'm talking about.
Okay.
All right.
I have to go. I have another class, so it'll be after that. But I'll see you later.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. That's it.
Bye, Tamara.
Have a good evening.
Okay. You want to stop sharing? There we go.
Okay, and I'm definitely going to come in because I also have some questions about my box as well. So,
okay. All right.
I'll
be there. Like I say, I'll be there from 7 o'clock till 11.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good. See you later.
All right.